everyone, this is Lost Child 14,000. Now for this review, I think I'll do games 6, 7, and 8 in the Blaze Epic series all at once, partially because it'll move things along at a faster pace, and it will also give us a broader view of the style of Blaze's more recent games. And if that doesn't do it for you, then you could say they're all so short and obviously built off the same palette that they could all be parts of the same bleeding game. Going by the order in which these games were reportedly developed, Blaze started off with Samurai_Jazz, an experimental title trying so hard to be Samurai Jack that it had to rip straight from the ideas of Zelda just to shield itself from some kind of legal death blow. The game tries to go for some kind of dark comic book atmosphere, as stated previously, but the postmodern cartoon style mixed with upbeat smooth jazz in the rain sort of makes the tone come across like the Peanuts gang meets the Matrix. The game immediately shows its teeth when the combat starts smacking people across the face and your first puzzle is getting drugs for a couple of non-confrontational thugs blocking our only course into town. The game is obviously unpolished in some areas, the combat was deeper than anyone could have guessed, and the entire game world was crafted to fit a Lucas/Kurosawa/Dark City-esque metropolis. It was well told, immersive enough, even with all the dumb spike traps, and the puzzles and combat were never dull. Then Blaze made Jump Boxer, a martial arts sim in 2D. It wasn't as deep as the first, but definitely a second cool experiment in more realistic movement and control. It didn't really have a story or anything more immersive than get from A to B, and look at the pretty background you get to crawl all over. Still couldn't say no to all those damn spike traps again, could you, Blaze? The game was more streamlined, stylistically, well executed, and this time featured slow jazz in the day, turning it into an urban ninja production of Hey Arnold. Yes, I like old cartoons, what about it? But where to go from here? I mean, what was Blaze to do after making an artsy pet project and a polished tech demo for a 2D Mirror's Edge? Combine them! Yeah, he pretty much took his new 2D perspective and made a new, more off-the-rails and yet more streamlined version of his old pet project, with more, or in some cases less, realistic physics. The story, the world, and the anthropomorphic spirit creatures really reflected this, and hence Blaze's third game was another experimental masterpiece. Yes, but what do I do from here? I'm still a good jazz composer and a game creator. I'd like to do both a bit more. Let's go back to that Mirror's Edge thing I had going and make it even more like Mirror's Edge. And so Blaze made a game that felt like an exciting idea for a free runner in a more open world that felt like a parkour playground, which obviously had combat that was copied from a combat simulator that either he didn't totally grasp, or he didn't want to waste time finishing, or testing, or making fully, and the whole open aspect wasn't totally realized. But where to go from here? Well, I'm tired of working on the same 2 characters for 4 games. I'd like to make something with more creativity, some atmosphere, some depth, preferably an open world to explore, but this time with more unique biomes so it doesn't feel like I'm drawing the same damn thing, and less of that combat stuff that's somehow gotten harder to code by removing a whole dimension. God damn it, Blaze. And we ended up with an Imp of Fiend, a game that can probably be best described as Castlevania as directed by Tim Burton. That's 2000's Tim Burton, not Tim Burton classic. But then what? Well, I'm a game designer now. I finally figured out how to build a world that tells its own story, a free explore style game, and I have a 2D engine/technique I want to get more mileage out of. Why not just take the tech I made for an Imp of Fiend and make another tiny character, big room non-scrolling platformer? Oh my god, it's wall jump screen-based Tomb Raider! Haha, seriously though. Forgetting the game description calls Ninja a guy, I had convinced myself that it was a Tomb Raider demake. And I'm not even being disingenuous. No joke, I seriously thought the main character was a female archaeologist exploring ancient death traps, with the Metroidvania-ish gameplay and character with long flowy hair doing acrobatic jumps through ancient tombs, etc., etc. Just to harp on the name, we've had Ronin, Dag, Imp Fiend, and now some guy who literally goes by the name Ninja. Yes, Ninja in a game called Ninjahtic. Let's just put a pin in that and say stupid name is stupid and move on. The story starts out in some ancient temple that's been taken over by red robots, and your job is to get some treasures for the site. But after venturing around, you'll find the treasures are actually keys for opening locked doors, and then the key hunting puzzles are on. The Metroidvania map elements make a return in the areas that aren't just a string of boxes. There's no double jumps or air dashing in this one. Instead, the movement is like Mario meets later Mega Man. So there's wall jump and wall slide, but you can still jump higher and faster if you're moving faster. The game is still solid, and I like the art style of this one, even if it's another screen-based wall jump platformer. But it's trying to be more action-adventure than wall glider simulator. Once again, it is impressive, if frustrating, but I have 3 major gripes about the game, none of which are game-breaking, but something the developer might want to keep in mind at any rate. Number 1, do not put 2 screens in the same area that are nearly identical. 2, blatant keycard fractaling is annoying. And 3, don't change the rules of the game for the final boss fight. The final boss can only be attacked for 0.5 seconds right after he attacks, and for the first time in the entire game, Goomba stomping it does 0 damage. Throughout the game, your opponents don't have a rhythm of attack, and falling on their head always works, so getting used to this for a very hard-to-get-to level was its own pain in the neck. I would also suggest adding a final cutscene where Ninja's going back home with the ancient alien tech, given the nature of the subsequent games, but still, is it good? Yeah, it is. And then... Well, that last game seems a bit bright-natured, and a ninja/archaeologist/alien robot fighter/Lara Croft seems a bit weird. I still want to put out another game that's more stable than my first few. How about I make him a ninja/JC Cyborg Cop? Well, all I can say is don't marathon these games back to back. Ninjahtic Mind Tricks is still a good game and my favorite in the whole psychotic Ninjahtic series. Instead of Tomb Raider, this game appears to be more Deus Ex meets Undertale, in a bad way. Now there's a more freeform movement system, although you can only double jump or jump dash once per leap, but that's meant more for challenge than anything else. Also, there are stealth elements, a pullover from the last game, where if you can attack a guard before he sees you, he will die instantly. Except in Ninjahtic 1, there was a huge chance that enemies would see you just walking into the room, whereas here, you actually have a chance at sneaking around them entirely. The world is drawn in pseudo 8-bit retro style, but this time there appears to be more contrasting outlines in the character art style, so everything looks like a pixelated cartoon. There's still no map, but just like the last game, the levels lock you out of finished areas, plus there's very few repetitive or confusing screens, so you don't really need one. Most of my gripes from the first Ninjahtic have been fixed, and the gameplay is actually somewhat fun, with no huge excavations just to get to a dead end. My only problems with this Ninjahtic game come from the writing, and maybe some of the boss fights. Spoilers, you all know the drill. In this one, you first wake up at some science lab, where you are informed that you have newly acquired cyber abilities. Now you can just run up walls whenever, like a really slidey version of Spider-Man, and the aforementioned jump dash techniques, but then the story train starts to go downhill as they outright tell you that they've programmed a rival for you. No joke. These scientists have outfitted you Deus Ex style with newly discovered alien technology, just so they could do the same thing to somebody else with the sole intention of making you two fight during important business, like an impromptu version of Rock'em Sock'em Robots. He isn't really brought up more than once or twice. It's entirely pointless. Then you're immediately called out into the city, where all the alien drones and samurai bots are going haywire and attacking people. Also, the aliens just showed up and there are ghosts hanging around. Great, now they're taking ideas from Rock of the Dead. But then the story goes a little far off the rails when apparently you're following some random woman around town that has the ability to teleport. I'm sorry, who? You only see this woman right before boss fights and once after it's established that an alien invasion is taking place. Yeah, she's obviously connected to the aliens, but I've kind of got bigger things to do, lady, than chase your sorry ass on a whim. But no, this must be the tastiest ass in the galaxy, as some gargoyle weirdo keeps showing up to remind you that, oh, she's way out of your league. And at one point, the level boss just shows up and it's your rival, obviously having gotten the Rock'em Sock'em Robots command before you, and, oh wait, no, this is a crime of passion. He now also has the ability to teleport, and he's there to fight you for the love of the alien princess in a red dress. Stop! Stop the train wreck! What the fuck, Blaze? I'm trying to solve an alien mystery, not get it on with alien Princess Daisy, but you're following her. How do you follow someone who can teleport extremely long distances? I actually started looking for her after a while, and no, I didn't see her guiding/stalking you like G-Man from Half-Life either. Seriously, Samurai Jazz got the making the player feel guilty for their own actions thing because it was something the player was actually doing. Shin Samurai Jazz also had those 3 spirit goons that stalked you relentlessly too, and I felt like I knew them and their general feelings for the world by the end. Not to mention the game goes out of its way to accuse you of being in lust with her. I ask again, fucking who? An alien girl in a red dress? You never showed a bigger picture of her, never bothered to establish a connection beyond 2 sentences and then blinking out of existence. As a matter of fact, I thought it was a really weird looking trash can when I first saw her, and beyond that, just from the few other times I saw her, she looks like a Cheerio stacked on top of a small end of a bit of Twizzler. Don't fucking tell the player they are absolutely interested in this character and then chide them for their lust when the real question is, what the bleeding robot sodomy are you actually talking about? I thought I was playing Cyber Cop in this, not Captain Kirk. Look, Blaze, I know Undertale came out and fucking won the world's entire stock of Game of the Year awards in a few months, and all for just really whining at the player, but that was built on the fact they had a lasting connection with the player before judging the fuck out of people who chose to be total psychopaths. They didn't just nag the player character for following the only leads we have to go on, namely move to the right. And once again, the ending comes way out of left field, except instead of the usual Twilight Zone-esque ending that skullfucks the player with meta-narrative, the princess just shows up and says she's really sorry for leading you on. She then teleports away and the gargoyle shows up and puts Ninja into a coma for following the alien princess. That's absolutely stupid and horribly handled storytelling, Blaze. That's really far beneath you, and you know it. You didn't have her stalking the player like in Shin Samurai Jazz, and if you did, she was hiding very well. So whether Ninja's really after Princess Daisy or just a victim of her stalking him, we'll never know. Also, it's another room-based wall jump platformer, it's a continuation of the last game, and now it's really similar to Shin Sam Jazz. But it's so stupid. A lot more new obstacle combinations are put into this game, which keeps it from feeling too stale, but it's still the same type of game as the last 2 before it, with little variety other than visuals and a few more tools used for the moveset. Also, I have a few other gripes, but right now I'm just going to save them for the next game because they highlight my feelings for parts of the Ninjahtic series as a whole, and any part they have in the 3rd Ninjahtic game just shows you how prevalent they really are through the series. Blaze, you proved before with the Mary_Jane series that you could change the base gameplay and still make it feel like a continuation. Near the end of this game, I was starting to get bored, wishing for physics puzzles, or a Metroidvania hub to actually do some investigating into the aliens taking control of robots, or vehicle sections, or an RTS section of cops versus aliens, or even a means of stealthing it to a terminal so I could report my findings. In the end, I just needed a distraction from your distractions. And then... Those last two games were really stable, easy to make with all the tools that I've built and accumulated. Maybe I'll try something a bit more traditional and get creative with my environment design. Does that mean that you're going to have a new story, a new movement system, perhaps new unlockable tools or secrets or unique selling point, Mr. Blaze? Yeah, no. I'll just mash the tools I have into a gauntlet and redo everything for no reason. Okay, Blaze. If you're actually tired of making games, just say so. Move over to a new engine, or put some work into making a new world, story concept, game mechanic design, because this is quite possibly the weakest game in the series. And if you were trying to ramp up the stakes to your previous title, let me just say that you have turned Ninja into one boring son of a bitch. You practically ripped out nearly all the abilities from the second Ninjahtic and also made your marketing blurb into poison. While it integrates gameplay mechanics of previous titles in the series, they are combined in a manner which differentiates itself from its predecessors. Oh, I see. What you meant to say is while it's another wall-based platformer, we basically use the wall run mechanic from the last game, and that's all. I couldn't even be bothered to write a save system for this game, and it's a standout because all the obstacles were seen in other games, or they're so hard even someone who practically masters the last two will want to rage quit from how difficult and boring this game can become. How do you make tension boring? How have you made pixel-perfect timing jumps into a chore? I ask you! And I'm serious, the game has no save function, which would be infinitely easier to do here because the levels aren't really linear. Geez, you couldn't just use the single-screen save system from the last game? Look, right there, that's all you need. The game story is basically you're still in the same coma from the last game, and someone, it could be the aliens, it could be the humans, you know, the ones that were so smart they outfitted their Indiana Dentons with a hidden fratricide command, has you strapped to an animus machine and are trying to repair your mind bit by bit, and that's about it. After each boss fight, the game pops up text descriptions of Ninja's adolescence, which I'm just going to sum up for you here. Apparently, he was a normal kid, a musician, looking for more knowledge from his tutors, bosses, and parent figures. But what drives Ninja to do all these things like killing people? Are you a monster, or do you just crave being the best bloodthirsty thing out there? The game also mentions something about having a good job that less deserving people are being promoted for instead of you, so my theory is this. Either the aliens have Ninja and they're brainwashing him to be the world's best killer / sleeper agent, my personal theory, or the geniuses at the Inspector Gadget ward are piecing together his mind and making him relive his summer job of being a hitman for the Yakuza. Either way, Ninja may be a total sociopath, and each of the kills sort of seem to relate back to the text dumps that once again accuse the player of some deadly sin, but looking back at the game as a whole, they may be right about Ninja in his youth, as they actually go back to the Samurai Jazz philosophy of the playable actions must inform the character, finally, which leads the chiding of the player more toward the logical end rather than the I want to be Undertale so hard I'll forget the way I did this the first time end. So the story's annoying, but what about the gameplay? It's boring. Tell me if you've seen these before in Nil Ninjago. Two death traps directly across from each other in a vertical shaft that you are currently trying to climb. A long bit of floor with only two spaces free of death traps on which to land. Switches that open doors behind which a new switch can be reached. Timed death spikes on the walls that halt your organic pace. Enemies that use guns against a lone fighter with a sword or short-range attack. Moving turrets that fire at the player at a close range that can only be dodged if you're moving in the opposite direction. There is one form or another of each of these in all the games, and now you have less movement controls to get past it all. And finally, boss fights. Oh my god, the boss fights. Start writing this down now. I'd expect this kind of thing more from Silent Hill or from some other horror game. The bosses are almost totally reaction-based, waiting for you to attack or come close. It seems more like a guard that's reluctant to kill you, so you are in essence the bad guy. Or else they seem like wind-up toys of reanimated corpses, more like a necromancer's spring trap than a samurai fighter or rival ninja. Now, of all times, you are actually starting to forget how to tell a story in gameplay. No, not when you gave the main character the power to fly, or made the main character a free-running hobo, or that one time that you created Metroidvania Light with the baby from Pet Sematary. Is Ninja a psycho? Then find a better way of showing that than a chiding text dump. Are the people that you're looking for connected to you in any way? Then any evidence of that at all would be nice. Just to compound my confusion further, I thought this game would be starring the Ronin. You know, the one mentioned in the fucking title. Well, actually, no. Ronin is just the third boss in the game and possibly the music teacher of Ninja. You know what? If you want some cool challenge, then this is a good game to pick up. But it throws the Samurai Jazz series all out of whack. It's the fourth game with this same gameplay style, the third game with more or less this exact gameplay style, and overall it feels like a crappy wall jump clone / demake of Samurai_Jazz, right down the protagonist who sets out to kill some demonic branch of the Yakuza. I honestly don't get all the good press this game gets. It's like old Nintendo. It doesn't follow linear structure at all. It's an easy game about a ninja with a katana, and the soundtrack is cool. When I found it boring, more linear than Mario, extremely difficult, and a mishmash of calm music and quick visuals. For God's sake, Blaze, your projects used to be cool. Look, I know I probably wasn't supposed to marathon these games back to back, but personally the only way I can let this slide is if it really is Ninja being brainwashed into being the perfect sleeper agent. And most of your games as a whole have been wall jump platformers at this point, but everything's still built off the base game and kept me going. This latest game is practically nothing. The world feels like it's been shunted into the background, the story isn't really there, and the features of cool gameplay and interaction are just gone. Even the one I've hated felt like a world you could get lost in. Now, the world's just a matte painting I can glance at every now and again, and all the overblown obstacles, poor design choices, self-destructive plots make me want to pull an _Jazz. That's what this is now, Blaze. One attempt after another to make a reskin game out of the An Imp a Fiend source code. The first try was really good, but missed having a story arc besides man finds thing, then man has to survive thing. The second game was like Batman Beyond trying to be Deus Ex by means of Battletoads, and the last one is like playing as a man trapped trapped in a nightmare where the whole world has left us all behind except for an all-powerful entity trying to kill you. Also excellent ideas for Twilight Zone episodes, but horribly mishandled in all of these games. Blaze, all your previous games show some level of self-reflection, and most of it with pure hindsight before any wannabe critics got a hold of them. Ninjahtic might have started out as a nice way to branch out, but the third game has defaulted right back to square one. And then... Maybe making something creative by being progressively lazier is a bad idea. Wait. I'll revamp an idea that I had ages ago that also had promise, but this time I'll make a martial arts anime game instead of coming up with a vague premise to dance around again. To which I replied, No, not that one! Oh God, Blaze, hath thou any shame?